you can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Good evening or morning, depending on your time zone. From the Pacific to the Atlantic to you worldwide. Get yourself a cup of java and find a comfy, easy chair. And get ready for Gary and his guest on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark. And now, here's Gary.
And here I am. Well, we're down to the last half an hour of the show. James, it's been a long day.
It has been a day, hasn't it? Yeah, we're getting down to the last half hour. There's been a lot going on. Couldn't hardly get through, but then we got through, and then we heard all kind of theories and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, if anybody wants to call in, now people were calling in or trying to call in, and I couldn't answer because you were on the other line. I bet now, since the guest isn't here, they're not going to call in. But anyway, if you want to call in and talk to me or James, the number is 1-253-203-6681. That's 1-253-203-6681. That's 203-6681. Now, if somebody wants to call in, they can. We got a little bit of time. But, we had about 30, 40 calls while you were on the other line when we had our guest on. But now the guest is gone, so maybe they won't call.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I didn't know that. That's, some days we get no calls and then we get fluctuated with a whole bunch of them.
Yeah. Well, that's the way it goes. But you know what? Tomorrow, who is our guest?
Tomorrow is Jeff Krause, and he's with UFO MUFON, and he was a great guest last time he was on. We had a little bit of Skype problems, I think, but not this time. It's going to be good. He's always good. He's got good stories. He's investigated a lot of stuff. He's got some good stuff to talk about. Believe that.
Yeah, we're also going to talk about the Japanese submarine. It popped up off of California back during World War II and fired between 25 and 40 rounds towards the oil refinery. And that had a lot of people thinking that we were being invaded by the Japanese during World War II. So we're going to talk about that and the UFOs and MUFON and all that stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Yeah, them Japanese, I'll tell you, how about the Battle of Los Angeles, 1942?
That's what I was just talking about.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. That was an amazing thing. There was, I forget how many different rounds and shells that were fired up at that thing, and some people got killed by the flak.
Nobody got hurt.
I thought somebody did. I thought a few people did.
Well, not from the Japanese submarine. It came up and it surfaced for about 20 minutes and fired all these rounds, again, between 25 and 40 or so rounds towards the refinery and docks. And they basically took out an old derelict, and they did a little damage to one of the piers, and not the refinery. But it shook up people enough that they realized that the Japanese could do that. And they were scared about an invasion, and there was a lot of rumors about the invasion and all that stuff of that. So, and the submarine then quietly submerged and took off.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of people that was on edge in Hawaii and in California, no doubt, during the 40s, I'm sure.
Well, don't forget, too, the Japanese had another thing. They took these big balloons and put, bombs on it, would create fires. And then, send them off towards the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, didn't the Japanese actually land something similar to that, or some kind of bomb in Oregon, or even your state, I believe, one of them?
Yeah, I think there were some little fires or nothing. I don't remember. I got to research that. But the whole point was they wanted to start forest fires to keep us, scared and confused, and they wanted to, cause damage. And I know even after the war, they found a couple of these balloons that came down that didn't ignite, thank God.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been seeing a lot of lately is landmines or unexploded munitions from all over the world, especially in Southeast Asia and Indonesia and Vietnam and places like that. there's still stuff out there. Accordingly, there's still, or reportedly, there's still close to 1 million or plus landmines out into Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia.
Yeah, and occasionally somebody steps on one and they're no longer with us. And that is scary stuff. Like I was mentioning last week on the show, there's a group of people that go out in the Ukraine. They go out in, some of the forests of Germany, and they dig up the remains of the servicemen where they could be returned, to their family members and have closure, and they're also looking for artifacts, let's be honest with you, in a lot of the cases. And they're finding still, a lot of artifacts, but they're finding, I hate to say it, they're finding ordnances that is still live after how many years? Like grenades and all this type of stuff, and ammo and stuff like that. And they actually find quite often what's left of guns. There was one that was posted up here on YouTube of this one group that goes out and looks for artifacts. They actually found Lugers in a box that were greased, that were in like mint condition, that were buried.
Wow. And another thing about that, I just seen a show last week, and they were looking for basically a Vietnam Bigfoot. It was out in Cambodia, Laos, and the Vietnam area in the middle of nowhere. And the week before, there were some people out there, and they had stepped on some landmines that were still there, so they had to be careful when you're looking for the Bigfoot, watching for landmines. And, another show I seen last week, and these people were looking for missing people in, Southeast Asia. They went for vacation, go for a hike, end up missing. Well, they're out looking for them, and they're finding booby traps. I don't know how old they were, but there's spikes in the ground where, they got stuff over where if you fall through, you get spiked and all kind of craziness. Oh,
it was really bad. What was really bad, if you stepped on a mine and you hear a click.
Oh, boy.
You can only stand on a mine so long because you go through, all those thoughts in your mind, and then your brain and body just, I tell you, it's scary. Fortunately, I've never stepped on one, but I tell you what, when you hear the click, and or you feel the click, that's the one that's going to get you, because either it's one that goes off immediately, and then you don't even hear it, but the ones you hear the click are the ones, as soon as you step off of it, move any of your weight, that detonates it.
Oh, boy. I knew a guy he was in Vietnam, and he just got over there, got off the helicopter, and his first step on the ground landed on one, and he lost his legs, unfortunately. I mean, he still lived, but he had to learn how to get through life without no legs.
Yeah, it was a war, Then when I look back at it, you sit and wonder, why were we there?
Yeah, that's true. There was a lot of, that's a political war for sure.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm totally against wars because you know what? It doesn't accomplish anything. What did we accomplish? We lost a lot of human lives, both ours and theirs. And when we left, it went back to what it was like.
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest with you. They didn't care after we left. At least the people didn't care. The people that were getting rich from us being there, they cared, but those people came to the United States because they couldn't live there because they would have been executed. But I don't want to get into political. I don't want to get into wars. So Jeff will be on, and then we have Terry Lovelace on this week. We have a guest that's going to talk about the Bewitched TV series.
Dave Pierce.
And I kind of do that like once a month. Like I'll have people on. We talked about Star Trek. And we actually, coming up here too, we got another person who wrote some of the scripts for Star Trek The Next Generation is going to be coming on our show. And talking about Star Trek The Next Generation. I kind of do that because there's a lot of people like me that are glued to the TV quite often watching Star Trek, Next Generation, and, and a couple. I couldn't get into a couple of the other ones, but The Next Generation I really got into, There was another one I didn't like. One of the last ones, I really didn't like it because it started out good and then it kind of like the Enterprise. It just kind of like didn't go anywhere. And that's why it ended up getting canceled. The writers were either burned out or they just didn't take the show the direction it should have went.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. I couldn't get into too many of them. I mean, I love the original one for sure. And I don't think they'll ever catch that magic with any other ones, unfortunately. But you were mentioning the other night that Shatner would come back if he had a chance.
Oh, yeah. He has publicly said here about a week ago that he would come back in a heartbeat. Not to do a series of Star Trek, but he would come back to do Star Trek. And the reason why he said he would come back to do it, James, is because technology nowadays, you know, like you go on Facebook, right? And you see these beautiful women. And it's done because of software. Well, now the same thing in the filming industry. They can take a person that, well, put it this way, is 80 years old and regress them back to like 30s. And they look like they would look like in their 30s. There's shows, movies that's been done recently where the stars had long hair. They went back and, you know, I can't think of the movie, but they showed a little bit at the end of the movie, you know, when you can go back and review how the movie was made, how they did this stuff digitally. And the guy had short hair, but they put luscious hair on him, long, you know, because it was back in medieval times. And when he swung his head, the hair moved. I mean, the technology is there. I mean, a lot of these films now, they are in a studio, and the background is green screens. It's all digital, all faked.
Yeah, you're right. It's not like it used to be when they did actual stunts and blew things up for real and stuff like that. Now it's all like you said, it's blue or green screen and CGI and stuff like that. But yeah, it's amazing you speak about that Facebook thing. So boy, they can bring that over into the films. That would be something else.
They have.